Welcome back to Nashville, Rich Renken.
Again.
Rich Renken from James Tyler Guitars. Yay! I feel like I just saw you.
I know. Like, what,
a week
30?
ago. I was just in the Burbank area, and we had lunch, last week. So
yeah, it was fun.
Now we're trading off.
You used a guitar for a video.
That's right. Transatlantic radio, video, and album release coming out soon. I'm super excited. I got to use a yellow Dan Huff model. And speaking of which, you're in town for something special, right?
Yeah, I came for the Chick-fil-A. This is a guitar that we did for Dan Huff. You know, it's going to be announced officially by the time you see this video, probably pretty quickly. You know, so
technically the new Dan Huff signature model.
Yeah, it's going to be the Dan Huff Studio Elite HDX. When I contacted Dan, when I first came back to Tyler 5 years ago, and we talked, and it's like, hey, let's do XYZ, and can we do this, and what are you up for? And he's like, man, I'm up for all of that, and tell Jim there's nothing I could do for him, you know, just, you know, whatever I could do for you guys. And I was like, okay, what can I do for you? And he's like, well, you know, build me a guitar.
When did his relationship with Tyler start? How long ago was that?
Oh, man, that was 82. So,
wow.
Yeah. Dan moved out to California, and he, as he put it, was like, do I belong? You know, do I belong out here? He was 22 years old, and he loved Lukather, so he knew he wanted like a 3-tone Strat with a black pickguard because he saw Lukather with one. And so he got that, and he took it to Jim, and he was just telling me yesterday, he said, I took it to Jim to hot rod it. I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew I wanted it hot rodded Strat. Like everybody was putting humbuckers and Strats and whatever else, and I'm sure what happened was Andy Brower said, no, just get a guitar and give it to Jim and let him do his thing to it. He bought the 64, brought it to Jim, and the original classic that we do now is a copy of that with the neck middle hot stacks and all that kind of stuff that I've talked about before. So that's kind of when they met. So Jim did, you know, multiple things. There's an Ultimate Weapon we know about, you know, the red one from the video. Yeah. There's the yellow classic, which Jim didn't even want to sell him. It was hanging in Jim's shop. It was just parts Jim put together, and it was hanging in his shop to kind of show people pickups, you know, and the switching.
It was a demo shop.
Yeah, and he begged him and begged him and begged him, and finally Jim sold it to him, and he used it during the Giant era.
Would this make like the third or the fourth Dan Huff model that you guys have put out? Because if you think about it,
yeah, Dan Huff Black Classic was the first
Black
official.
Classic came out in the early 2000s?
Probably late 90s. So it was the Dan Huff original.
Officially, like the name was Dan Huff.
Yeah, Dan Huff Black Classic, and then Jim changed it to Level 3 to not use Dan's name. And there was no, hey, you can't use my name. In fact, Dan was like, Jim, I can't repay you for what you did. Just use my name, you know. And that's what kind of sparked that. And I called him specifically to do the Yellow Classic, so we changed the Black Classic to that.
When did the Yellow Class?
When I got there, like 5 years ago. So,
and that has the signature on the body.
Yeah, because that's where Dan signed
the original
before he sold it.
Yeah.
So, and then Jim and I were talking about, let's just copy that signature. And I was like, no, that signature should stay on the original. And I sent a bunch of body, full-size papers for Dan to sign, like, multiple ones. Yeah. And that must have been Dan's idea because, you know, just like the Dan Huff album back here.
That's right.
So I had Dan sign a bunch, and we picked the one that we like that's also now on the back of headstock on this one. Yeah. You know, so we did the Yellow Classic. And then
more recently.
Yeah, I flew out here to open up his 64, to take a bunch of pictures. 64, yeah, the Fender modded Tylerized. I'm calling anything from before times, like Coma guitar was Tylerized, you know. So I flew out here and I tore that guitar apart, just to take pictures and end all the controversy. And Dan and I talked about it yesterday, and he talked about it a lot. It's two things. It's the preamp giving you the buffered signal, so you get the glassy highs and the lows. The mid boost is the added little thing, and it's about series parallel, being able to throw a pickup into parallel. And
the electronics.
Yeah.
Because no other company really did that at the time.
Yeah.
It's still today. It's like kind of like when you think of that whole lead rhythm circuit idea, you think of Tyler.
Yeah, exactly. In doing that and kind of bonding with him even more, we were talking. He keeps sending me pictures of when I said, well, what can I do for you? He said, well, build me a guitar. And I said, well, what do you want? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, one thing Jim's been doing for like 20 years at that point was what was called the Studio Elite HD, which was basically Jim's humbucker and single coils with a preamp, and that was it. So I said, well, let me build you a Studio Elite HD. He said, sounds great. And I said, and if you maybe want one of the crazy finishes, the Weichmere kind of has a grown-up look to it.
It's very, with the gold hardware, it's very classy.
Well, so I did his, though, with chrome and a natural headstock and just a preamp. So then I said, well, Dan, we should make this a model. And he goes, yeah, I'd be totally into it. So
this
I
differs.
sent him a picture of gold hardware, because I'm not a big gold hardware. In fact, most people that I talk to, when I say, we're not gold hardware guys, you see it on this, though, and it's a whole other level of flash. So we added that, and then I sent him a photo of the faux matching headstock, and he's like, yeah, do that, you know. And
I love the excitement that he has.
Oh, yeah. Besides the look, I went, what couple buttons could I add? And I thought about you. It's just funny because I started doing this because of your first video with the Tyler, where you had basically an HD, but you were hip to, I got to have the neck bridge on to get all three pickups.
So we have the regular preamp, right, for this thing.
Yep.
This is neck bridge on.
Yep, which came from you and other people, and you know, me just going, wow, that's low-hanging fruit. Because I've been doing this setup for a few guys. I didn't name it yet. So the third button is series parallel for the bridge only.
Yeah.
And the reason I did that is because I didn't realize how much of Dan's clean tone on a lot of those records and Giant, like an easy low-hanging fruit for sure is the intro to I'll See You in My Dreams, the intro to Can't Get Close Enough with the heavy stuff, and the opening riff on Believer, the solo. Is still the bridge pickup in parallel. And Dan goes, you know what, that's probably right. And probably I didn't do it because I was thinking about it. I probably forgot. And it was in parallel, and I was ripping, and I was like, well, it sounds good, I'll leave it.
On a humbucker, series parallel to me means series is obviously full humbucker.
Yeah.
Parallel almost seems like a low wind humbucker or something.
It goes to a quarter power. So you think about a Super as 17, and then like a PAF, you know, is around 6, 7. This drops this down to about 5. You know, so it's basically like
I love playing in parallel, and then sometimes I will add the preamp a little bit just to add a little
bump of
extra
low.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the solo to Believer, it is this in parallel with a bit of mid boost. Yeah.
I see. I didn't know that, and now that's like my favorite sound, and now we all know.
Yeah. So two things are here. This is the Dan Huff Studio Elite, and then HDX, but that HDX isn't exclusive to him. It's just a way that I'm going to make it easy for people. Right now, people order the Studio Elite HD. Well, if you want some 80s, but not all the way there, or too many switches, you're like, and you short out. This is an easy way, boom, preamp, neck bridge on right in the middle of the 5-way, and the lower one is for the bridge only.
Yeah, so too many switches. This is basically series parallel on all 3 pickups.
Yep, with the canceling coils, right? Is that what we did?
Canceling coils, then we got bridge switch.
Yep, goes straight to this in series, so you lead rhythm.
We called this animal style, I thought.
Was it animal style?
I just thought of animal style because
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Let's go to the humbucker real quick. So that's series, right?
Yep. Parallel.
I love it. It just kind of cleans it up a little bit more, because there's a lot of, heaviness.
Yeah. it's a way overwound humbucker. Goes to kind of more traditional, but also just has a more than a traditional PF. There is a kind of a more openness to it.
Yeah, I mean, I love low wind PAFs on like my Les Paul and everything, because sometimes if you dial it in right, it can kind of get telly-ish, which I like.
Yeah.
There's a clarity, but then you get the humbucking capability. So I love that. So this is the neck bridge, right?
So now it's, neck bridge with it in series.
So if I do this.
Yeah, it almost kind of does get more telly-ish. It's almost like a little bit like a fat P90 too, a bit.
Now if I do everything out.
Then you got all three. Oh, and then pull it to 2.
And pull it to
now
2, then it's all
three.
3. This is in parallel. We got the preamp and we got... I'm not going to play Purple Rain. And this combination is basically, to me, the Dan Huff clean sound. It's just like the 80s.
And I guess for nerdiness, it's, alder body, maple neck, rosewood fingerboard,
And the neck is my favorite Tyler neck, which we're calling
the standard 64 now.
Previously, it was the
thin 59.
Oh, thin 59.
Yeah. So our standard 59 is like one of Mike's 59 that always just felt like home. And then it's a little fat for people, so Jim just made it the thin 59. But I would tell people who are like, that neck's a little fat, and I go, we'll go with the thin 59. And they go, I don't like thin necks though. Yeah, and it's not. It's just
so slightly
thousandths.
It's so slightly, but I understand when. As a buyer, when you hear the word thin, then you're like, oh, it's like an Ibanez Wizard neck or something.
Which is a thing, for a different kind of thing.
But it's not.
And we have an extra thin, so.
So, I have my 2 Tylers here. This is a standard 59. And then the Black Ice is, when I bought it, was the thin 59.
And you're like,
that's my favorite guitar neck. It's on here, the Dan Huff, so I'm totally...
Well, and the reason we named it the standard 64 is 2 reasons. One, because when I measured Dan's 64 Strat and then looked at the numbers, I was like, oh, that's a 64. Yeah, really close. So I was just like...
So this is very similar to Dan's 64.
Exactly, yeah. It's his favorite neck. I think on his Black Classic he had a standard 59. And so when we did the original, I said, hey, I'm going to do it with the thin 59 at that point.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm not a big fan. No, it's like your 64. He goes, oh, okay. And then he loved it. And I'm like, okay, let's just call it the standard 64. Yeah. So because people relate to those, a Strat neck with those years. 59's a bit fatter, 64 got a little slimmer.
Exactly. That makes total sense. That was a good call. This is my favorite Strat neck ever. Let's hear it with some distortion. So what pickups are in this specifically?
A Super and 2 of our JTS 5500s.
Okay.
True single coils.
That is basically...
Yeah. You have the canceling coils, but the 5500s.
I think that's the Super. That might be the Secret. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
These are these 5500s, you can't really go wrong with them.
This is Jim's favorite for sure. It's like you get vintage vibes with them, but there's something a bit, for lack of a better word, modern. A little like the next evolution of.
It's a little crispier.
Yeah.
Without being bright or brittle.
what's funny is I feel like when you go to say this and you just add in just the preamp with it down and you do a clean thing, it's almost like series parallel, because I think Jim's ear was so tuned to that. It has a nice clean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the preamp is so important.
I think he was thinking of that as he was, yeah, for sure, yeah.
The preamp is so important, and I know that you probably get a lot of emails about, hey, can you just sell me the loaded pickguard or the electronics?
Yeah, we do that.
So you do that? That?
Yeah, loaded pickguards all the time.
So if anyone wants to do that, just email you directly?
Yeah,
or?
info@Tyler Guitars.
Yeah, so, you know.
And we do, like, we'll just do it on our classic pickguard. It doesn't quite fit on a Strat, but it
fits close enough.
Yeah, it just comes ready to go, because when I show people, I've had a couple guys, hey, can I just buy some parts? And we don't want to sell parts. We're not a parts house, and we just can't stock it like that. So if you want a loaded pickguard, you can get it. And we can steer you where to buy parts if you're, like, savvy with it. But a few people, I've sent them a picture of the backside, and they look at it and they're like, okay, never mind. I better just get a loaded pickguard, because, you know.
You should goop it. You should just be like, this is
There's nothing rocket science. It's just Jim spent years figuring out all that and the switches, and, you know, like, the guy who helped him figure out the lead rhythm, because he wanted to be able to go from wherever the switches were set right to the bridge pickup, was Dan Armstrong, you know, who was just a friend of his that lived with Aspen Pittman, you know.
Bunch of geniuses.
Just hanging out in the valley.
The valley, yeah. The valley geniuses.
Drinking and playing rock music. And
so when is the official release date with this?
in a couple weeks. So by the time you're watching this,
it's probably going to be out.
Pretty quick, yeah.
Congratulations, Dan. And this is actually Dan's personal one, right?
Yep.
Don't forget, if you haven't, you don't need to buy the vinyl. You can get it streaming. When Words Aren't Enough is the latest Dan Huff.
So great.
I heard he's making a YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's going to do a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Rich, thank you so much, buddy.
Dude, always.
I'm so excited that you're here. I'm
pleasure.
so happy that you got to show this to me and to the world. And
thanks for making the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See you in the next video. Rich Renken, everybody. Dan Huff, James Tyler Guitars. Go check it out. Nice. Links in the description. See you next time.